Welcome to the world we live in, back and forth through the kitchen.
All right, welcome to episode 7 of the Neutral Zone. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I'm going to guess I'm right here. This is going to be the highest viewed show we've ever had in season 1. And we're going to upload this to YouTube very shortly. It's Monday evening, the day after Sunday 1 of the inaugural Woodridge Hockey Monsters hockey tournament. And we got 2 very special guests, the co-leads or the co-commissioners of the first annual Hockey Monsters Woodridge, Illinois tournament, which I got to say, guys, great job. First and foremost, from my end, the first Sunday, spectacular. I mean, just keeping everything rolling on time, the competition, the parity amongst the teams. I thought it was pretty well done. So although there was a lot of questions early on about the legitimacy of the teams, and I'm sure you guys heard it, got some backlash on that, I don't think it was nearly what we had expected. So kudos to you guys and for putting together not only good teams, but a great schedule. I was particularly happy with the schedule that we had with Peter's team. But we'll talk all about that shortly. Let's tell you. So, look, we have a packed agenda today. We're going to start off with what everybody's most interested in, the tournament highlights and some key updates. I know Eric and Frank, both of you guys are here. We don't have a Q&A session outside of the Q&A that Stomps and I are probably going to give you. But we're not live on Facebook, so you're not going to get all the COVID-related questions live. Then we're going to go through some special announcements, go through the week in review, and some player spotlights. So with that said, let's kick off episode 7 of the Neutral Zone. Stomps, anything you want to add before we get started?
I just echo everything you said, except I will say that I predicted it, that this would be a high parity tournament. I think there were, concerns about the rosters. I mean, I like the makeup of all the teams. That certainly the teams that I'm familiar with, which is most of them. So yeah, great first day.
We can go back to the tape. Stomps did say that, Eric and Frank, from the very beginning. He was a big supporter of kind of the way the teams were made. He never said, like the quote unquote, you'll tell me the official name, that the Foxhounds, most of the Foxhounds guys, Stomps was not ready to throw in the towel on that. So we'll go through that. But listen, before we get started, we'll go into the updates. I just wanted to do a little plug here for Eric. I promised him. For those of you who were at the tournament yesterday, he's got really 2 cool hats. He's got the beanie and he's got the baseball cap. The beanie's on sale for $25 and the baseball cap's $15, and the dog is not included, right, Eric?
No, the dogs are not included.
Okay. All right, perfect. And you're only accepting cash, right?
I mean, no, that's actually Venmo's fine, and that information's all on our app through the tournament news area. So
perfect. Well, thanks for doing that, Eric. I think it's a nice touch to the tournament and for what you're trying to achieve here. So thanks for doing that. I'm going to pass it on, though, to our special guests. Before we get into, like, all the nitty-gritty, I saw some photos were taken. I like this tradition that you guys are doing with Game Stars. So Frank or Eric, I think Frank, kind of you were involved in this, or Eric, one of you guys, you want to walk us through these stars?
Yeah, so this is just a few of them. We did one for every game. And the idea here was to anything to make it a little bit more special. And I thought, as this goes along, it'll be a kind of a point of pride that these guys get these shirts. And then in coming weeks, hopefully they'll be wearing them out there to kind of show off that, I was the player of the game. I was going to call it the monster of the match, but I didn't know that was a little too silly. So it's just a player of the game award. And yeah, just to reward good players. So you see, obviously, some of our regulars and an old timer who's actually pretty new to Woodridge and Carlo. But Anthony, Timmy, two great scorers, and you see Rocco there, who had a terrific game to get that shirt in goal. I can't see who's the other one. Let me move my.
Let me comment on this. So is that, I think that's Gabe on the right, is that not?
Yeah, Gabe. Yeah, that's Gabe.
The first game, he had a hat trick, and I won the first game for you guys.
Yeah, he's the only one scoring for our team.
Yeah, you guys are a bit of a
Anthony,
disappointment. I got to be honest with you.
what was that?
Your Aztec team, it's a bit of a disappointment.
All right, we'll get into that. But I just want to say, first of all, good to see Carlo again. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's been on hiatus. So he's back. That was great. And I'm sick and tired of Tim. All right. He told me yesterday, I asked him, hey, did the baby come, right? His wife's expecting. Well, now it's a scheduled C-section on November 10th, conveniently. So he could show up and score 20 goals yesterday. Yeah, that's Timmy. I'm just joking, Tim, but you're getting on my nerves. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like this tradition, of recognizing the players.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So nice job there. Carlo, did Carlo wear the mask during the game, or was that just for the photo?
Just for the photo.
I don't remember if he was wearing it during the game.
He was
Yeah, I
not.
don't recall.
Yeah, it's nice.
Although I could see Frank in two pictures, one with and one without. So
Yeah. I was bugging Frank about that yesterday too. I was like, "What do you just put that mask on when you see certain people?"
Yeah. Well, you see who I'm wearing it with, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't know what kind of crowds he runs with.
wow.
Well, Kelly was asking me why.
For the most part, I was trying to keep it on all day, and it was nice because I've got that big nose. It keeps it warm out in that cold weather.
It does. It definitely does keep you warm. And I will say that Chelly was bugging me because I was wearing sunglasses all day, and he was like, "Nab, it's not sunny out here." And I said, "I wear that because I don't know if somebody's going to take a crazy wind up out here, and there's a mix of skill sets out there, so you got to protect your eyes."
Crazy wind up. Look who's talking.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about my own stick hitting my face.
I don't understand.
Okay, so Carlo, good stuff. Anthony Martino, awesome. Timmy, and then that's the goalie. What's his name again? Rocco, and then Gabe. And I must say, I know he's not on here, but Ryan got the first one for our team in our first win. He's gonna ask me why his picture's not on here, but I'll just let him know that you ran out of.
I only sent you the ones that were on my phone. We've got the other ones somewhere else, so they'll be displayed prominently at some point down the line here.
Yeah, I have the one of Ryan. I'm still kind of getting to that, so sorry to those guys who have those pictures and they're not posted.
No, it's okay. No need to apologize. Stomps and I typically get anywhere. I get anywhere from 2 to 3 people a week coming up to me saying, "Hey, what about that? What about this? How come I wasn't noted? How come I wasn't recognized?" So we try our best. So for those of you who don't get recognized, Frank and Eric have the.
Yeah. So Jeremy Fredette
played better. How about that?
Yeah, Jeremy Fredette got one. Steve Ferrito got one. Dan Bruner got one. And Art Carpenter, the goalie, he got one. And John Kelly also got one. So there's a few that we don't have included. So I can, I'll get them all together and then we'll post them.
That's awesome. Thanks, Eric. And aren't you guys glad we didn't do the show yesterday? I mean,
yeah, I had no time.
You didn't know time and you're probably tired. Frank was the only guy that was open to doing it yesterday.
I actually passed out, and I wouldn't have been up for it yesterday.
All right. So, hey, guys, thanks, Frank, for sending this over. This is in no particular order, right, in terms of total column, right, Frank?
This one here, Eric has it up to date properly on the website, but this was I just threw it together earlier so you could have something.
Yeah, if you pull up the app, Nav, and download the PDF, you'll have the full total.
Okay, all right.
In order, if you want.
Yeah, no, you know what I'll do, because I'll update this later on if that's okay. But is it okay for today? Why don't we just go through kind of the standings here? Obviously, we don't want to go through all the games, but let's talk a little bit about these standings. And I have another slide after we'll dig into kind of what we saw yesterday. But I'll leave it up to you and Frank to kind of walk the audience through this.
Yeah, if you look at it, again, we talked a lot about how we put the teams together. And if you see a couple outliers there, are the teams that we didn't really have any hand in putting together, are the teams that didn't end up getting any wins. And it's just hard to balance everything out that way. But, we wanted to accommodate some new teams. And so anyway, so the Dolphins and the Porpoises are really part of the same club. And then the Southside Cobras there. So they are still looking for their first win. So good luck to them next week. But yeah, but I think the rest of the teams, I think the games were all pretty fair. The final game of the day between the Wrecking Balls and your team, Eric, that one got a little bit out of whack, but I think it was the end of the day. I think the Wrecking Balls were just tired. I think if you play them, fresh, I think that's a much closer game.
I agree. They played a really hard game against the Aztecs prior, and I think that took a lot out of them. So
Who's the Wrecking Balls, Eric? Who's the GM?
Brian Dudek.
Brian, that's Anthony Martino and Rocco the goalie.
Yeah, they got a good roster. They have a good roster, actually.
And that's the thing about these tournaments. Part of it is that you're going to get challenged, right? So that the second group of teams, they all had to play 3 games within just a couple of hours there. And so the Wrecking Balls really felt it.
I see. I see. So I guess the key message, the key takeaway from this, if I heard you correct, is the teams that try to put in their own players and they try to put their own teams didn't, on day one at least, didn't get the same results as the balanced teams that you and Eric did. So that's kind of like what you're kind of concluding with that on the score sheet there,
right? And also on top of that, those teams, it's not really a lack of talent, but they don't have the same experience that the other teams have, right? So you have pretty much every other team plays in Woodridge. All those players play out there pretty regularly, and so even if so those players know how to maximize the skills that they do have. So even if you're a weaker player or whatever, when to make your moves, when to play defense, the players a little bit, the angles and everything. So those teams.
I think that's a big part is they also know a lot of the talent too. They know the court. They know how the rules of what we play there. And I think that makes a big difference. So I think all 3 of the teams, the Dolphins, the Porpoises, and Southside Cobras, I think they're all great teams. I just think they had a rough start, and I don't expect them to continue to struggle. But that's why we play, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they all came out here and played regularly, and we did the same tournament, say in 2 months, I think you'd see some different outcomes. But they're
I agree.
Kind of thrown into the fire there.
Hey guys, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, if it's okay, any major surprises?
So you got the Peters Cheaters. Is that the real? That's not your actual team name, right?
No, it's the 9 Inch Males.
Yeah, but Peters Cheaters is probably more appropriate. When I showed up to their one game, it may have been their first. No, it wasn't their first game. It was probably their second game. I stood along the goal line by Billy, just kind of watching things, and I waved off Bruner's goal, and I got overrode by Sammy, who called it a goal. So my first official call was a failure, complete failure. But and I heard there was Nav, did you have a controversial goal that was
No,
was
Frank called mine off. That was, I think that might have been in the first game, Frank, where I hit the post. I don't know if Frank remembers that, but I had one that was called off too. Listen, whenever you hit the post, you think it's in, right? I'm the first to tell you that. I thought that shot was in on Billy. Billy didn't. The rest of the team
Well, I'll tell you, I had a perfect angle. It wasn't in.
Yeah.
But what really aggravated me is we got a team of veterans, right? And so after that, the game's tied. And we really folded for the next 5 minutes and gave the game away. And so, I mean, like that kind of thing is going to happen. Calls are going to go. And even if it went in, we still had to, it was a goal one way or the other, right? And so I was pretty disappointed that, I got a team of old guys. The one thing we should be able to do is keep our heads together and keep playing. But we really kind of gave up for the next few minutes and cost us the game.
Well, that was a good game. That was a good game. I think that was the game where Bruner got the star, right? Or was it Art?
It's one or the other. I think if it was the second game, it was Art. I think Bruner got the player of the game for the first game. I think.
Oh, no, Ryan was the first game.
All right.
Or Ryan was the first game.
Yeah, regardless of that, I just want to make one comment since we're talking about surprises and yeah, sure, Stomps, you can call us cheaters, you can call us whatever you want. But let me tell you this, guys. This team that Eric and Frank put together, I have to say, listen, there's a lot more hockey to be played. I like what we've done with the team. I like the balance of the team. I don't think there's one guy who's kind of running away with everything. It's equally balanced. And I think Bruner has actually stepped up as a leader as well as a defensive player. And I think in that game against Frank's team, both Bruner and Josh gave Chelly a run for his money. I mean, I know Chelly scored a goal, but he didn't get the room that he usually gets to thrive. So I'll just make that comment. I'm not going to talk about my team, but I just want to say that's the surprise.
I don't consider you guys a surprise. I mean, somebody was going to probably go 3-0, and you guys have a good roster. I'm maybe a little surprised there's 3 teams with no wins.
I think the teams, though, Stomps, that played 3 games, if you talk to a couple of people that played 3 games. Eric, did you play 3 games yesterday?
Yes.
So you knew by the 3rd game. That team that played, in some ways it's a benefit because you get it over with on the first Sunday. So next week they might have less games. I don't know if that's how the schedule works, but.
Yeah, like my team, everybody who's played 3, they'll have 1 game next week. And the teams that have played 2, they'll have 2 games next week.
Okay, so there's not more than, it's still the round robin you're saying next week, right?
Correct, yes.
Next week it starts the round robin, but then in the afternoon starts the first round of the playoffs, right? So the teams that played 3 games yesterday, they'll play their final round robin game and then their playoff game. So for the teams like my team, we have 2 games, and then our first playoff game will be our 3rd game of the day. So teams that really, had to wear it yesterday, they're going to get that break next week.
Okay,
and so those teams that had it a little bit easier yesterday, we're going to pay for it next week. So it all balances out,
So for the viewers, Frank, for the viewers out there, I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. The round robin continues next week, but we start the first round of the playoffs also at the second half of the day.
Right. So we had 12 games yesterday. And then, so next Sunday, we have 6 more round robin games. And then, I don't remember.
So at 11:45 will be the first playoff game.
Yeah. And then, so we have another 5 so it'll be about the same number of games next week total. But it'll be the first half is the end of the round robin, and then we get right into the playoffs.
Can I remind the viewing audience of something very important? Early next Sunday morning at 2 a.m. is when we roll those clocks back 1 hour.
An extra hour.
So people hey, they're either going to be on time or they're going to be early by an hour, right? They'll be sitting around a little extra time, but just keep that in mind that it's daylight savings time comes to an end next Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Got it. Good reminder. And I'm sure that somebody will make that known again on the Hockey Monsters forum there. Hey, I know we talked a little bit about this. Any major, do you guys any major letdown or any other surprises? Let's talk about, I want to take a minute here to talk about the death game versus the wrecking balls, right? I want to talk a little bit about that. Is that that was your last game, right, Frank? Tell us a little bit about that game, Frank.
The one against which one?
You mean the Goblin Sharks?
Against the Goblin Sharks. Sorry, Death versus Goblin Sharks.
It was nice because a couple of those guys are on the Fox Sounds, a couple of us are on the Raiders. So it was like it was kind of nice to play some of our guys against some of their guys, right? That was always, one of the best games for us always. So being just a part of that game was really the highlight, and I was kind of looking forward to that all week. But it was something of a game of attrition. So they had their 3rd game, and they had a couple players who were feeling it from the night before. And then
It was Mike Scalzitti's. It wasn't his third game though.
no, but he was feeling it, and Joe was feeling it.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't planning on playing yesterday, but we were short a guy, and we're old, so I jumped in a little bit to help out. It was just a fun game, and then we got a couple early, and we were able to weather a storm. I mean, when they stack that line with they can go with Sheets and Mike and Ronnie and John Kelly or Joe. They got those 4 or 5 guys. They can put a line that's the best line in the tournament, right? And so they started putting a whooping on us at the end there, but we were able to weather the storm because we got those goals early. But it was a fun game. It's a great game.
I think our top 4 is better, but that's fine. With regards to that game though, so you went in there, obviously, Frank, you're a competitor. You went in there thinking you have a good lineup, a strong lineup. You're playing to win. Anything in there that did you sense the rivalry, or is it too early in the round robin to feel a rivalry?
Yeah, you feel a little bit. I mean, like anytime we're out there with those guys, if you go back and Eric can attest to this, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, there was like maybe a bit of animosity or like when you played those games, like you really wanted to put it over on those guys, right? But now after so many years, it's more like I just enjoy it, and I obviously want to win, but I just love being on the floor with those guys and competing with them. I mean, that's to me that's like the highlight of this game, is playing in those situations. And so is it a rivalry? Yeah, you want to win, but again, it's just being part of it at this point. I just loved it.
Are the Goblin Sharks, from your vantage point, Eric, are they balancing their lines? Are they equally distributing playing time?
I think when the game suits it, yes. But like any good coach, when you're down in the game and your clock's running out, you have to make adjustments. And I think that's what they did in that second game against Dev. They made adjustments. They tried to keep a lot of that stronger talent out there. It's a tournament, they want to win. And sometimes being a team player means you sit the bench more. That's just the reality of it. So, but I think in general, when they're just kind of, when they're not in a situation like that, I think they're balancing everything pretty well.
Good. That's good to know. Who's the biggest letdown, guys, so far?
Stomps, we're looking at you.
So, I like the roster we have. Our roster probably has more ex-Raiders than your roster. I mean, it's myself and Miles, Chris Bauer, Kenny, and Gabe. I mean, that's 5 right there.
Well, that was the thing. Like, actually, Miles came up to me. He's like, "Are you mad at us that we didn't put us all together?" And I didn't think it would be fair to build a Raiders team, but I tried to keep us together in pockets. I mean, and then like Nav, I put him with Ganutek, who's played with the Raiders. So trying to keep us, at least with a teammate or two. But yeah, I mean, I really had high expectations from that team.
So yeah, we got off the good start, 5-0 win. 5-0 win in the first game. I was fully expecting we'd go at least 2-1 yesterday. So it's a little bit disappointing. That second game against Carlo and Timmy's team, it was a good hockey game. We lost 5-3. Timmy had a hat trick. I mean, we've got the goaltending. We need some more scoring. We got to find some scoring because we only scored 9 in 3 games. Obviously, that's a 3 goals a game average. I think you got to get 4 and above to win in these tournament games. And Gabe scored 6 out of our 9, so we got to find some offense somewhere else. But again, I like the roster. I mean, we got a couple of new guys that none of us know or ever played with, right? At either Woodridge or Palatine, and that's Anthony and Richard, good players. But you can just kind of tell that when you don't play with somebody and it's the first time, it's not easy. No excuses. I like coming from the back of the pack, let's put it that way, and we'll see what we'll do this coming weekend. Gabe's fired up.
I've heard some rumblings. You can confirm or deny this, but are you underutilizing the likes of Frank D?
That's a great question, because we have 9 people on our roster, so we've got that odd person that we have to shuffle in. And I heard Frank a couple of times saying he was like deferring to allow those other guys that he knows to play. So it's hard to say. I mean, we put the lines together. We mixed it up in the third game. We had Miles on defense with me to try and get him out there with Kenny and Gabe and create, just have a lot more offense. And it started to click towards the end when we pulled the goalie. We had the ball the entire 2 minutes. I mean, it was just, but we just couldn't score. But we'll see what happens next week. Well, it's fun. Gabe has taken the leadership mantle. He's kind of made this his team, and I kind of like that. That's kind of cool.
It's pretty awesome. So Frank was saying, Frank, Eric, so clearly sounds like you guys are one of the big letdowns here. I mean, I hope maybe this will light a fire under everybody's butt. But I mean, you guys are definitely a team to watch out for. It's well balanced. You got a good composite of both younger players and veterans. How did Critter do yesterday? He's a guy that I'm not too familiar with in the Woodridge environment.
Oh, Chris Bauer?
Yeah. He struggled.
What was that?
He struggled.
Cardio-wise or just?
No, more, I think, just rust. He hasn't played in a while.
Just rust.
And there were a couple times that I saw guys make plays against him that you never see get made against him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he comes out next week and makes a big impact the other way.
That'd be a huge boost. That'd be a huge boost for you guys.
So that's it on the Aztecs.
Yeah, I think we can't ignore the Southside team. Like, I mean, in terms of letdown, when you look at that roster from top to bottom, I mean, what's going on over there, guys, outside of some of the other, health-related issues going on that we'll cover shortly? But really, what's going on with the Southside team, Eric?
I think a lot of that has to do with they're not used to the court. Also, their goalie, John Zilges, I don't think he's ever played in a tournament before, so I think the pace may be different for him. He's done well on Sundays in Woodridge. He had a winning record.
Right.
And I felt confident putting him with them because I felt they would be a good, solid team in front of him. But I think he told me he had food poisoning the week before. So my guess is that maybe he went out there and he just didn't feel as good as he thought he was going to. And maybe the first game kind of took the wind out of him because the Southside Cobras didn't have any goals in the first game. And as a goalie, it doesn't matter if you let in 1 or 10. If your team can't score goals, there's nothing you can do. I just think it's a chemistry thing overall. They ought to get used to the court and everything else. And, you've got a lot of guys who play on Sunday here and they're like, ooh, a tournament. And they get hungry. They want to play hard. They want to play with the people they're playing with. And I think that, as Frank said earlier, that's given a pretty big advantage here. But I think that can change at any point. I think teams are going to come in next week and they're going to have a different perspective. And I think you're going to see a lot more close contests.
Are you aware of the restaurant that gave him the food poisoning? Just for
No. I don't typically ask a lot of questions about. Yeah, I don't ask questions about people's health in general. I try not to do that. I just want them to be okay, and I just need to know if they're going to play, so I can put the resources in place to make sure things work.
Well, I
could see that team really moving next week.
Go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
I could see that team really moving next week, getting well. They'll have a longer road because they'll be in that losers bracket, but I could see them really starting to turn some heads and winning some games. So, yeah, I think they're going to be okay.
I would agree that they're hungry. If you talk to some of their, like, Eileen's very competitive, and I'm sure, Eric, you've heard from her.
Yeah. I mean, she wants to win more than anybody I've ever met. So she's committed to excellence, and I have no doubt that she's gonna, round the troops up and come in next week with a goal in mind. So it'll be interesting to see how everything pans out.
If you watched the episode we did 2 weeks ago, I have a question for you, Eric. Do you think Eileen wants to win more than Dante hates to lose?
How do you measure something like that?
We'll ask Dante. How's the weather looking, guys? What are you predicting going forward here? I mean, I know it's hard to get a 14-day forecast. Or things they're pretty.
So far, it shows clear. I think the high was like going to be like 59, so maybe a little warmer than yesterday.
All right, so here it is from AccuWeather. They're saying chance of a shower in the morning, otherwise breezy and clouds yielding to sun, 30% chance, 52. I wouldn't take too much stock in that.
Right.
It's early in the week. They were calling for yesterday to be it was looking like the week before. It almost looked like it was going to be a carbon copy with a washout. And then by Friday the forecast changed. So I wouldn't put too much stock in whatever the prognosticators of weather are saying right now.
Eric, what is the average over the last several years where the last Woodridge game is played in the month of November? Is it Thanksgiving?
Well, typically it's Thanksgiving, but we've run years where we've gone into the whole end of the year. We've had some that ended the second week of December. Really, the snow dictates a lot of that. And if there's no snow, then the temperature, because once it starts dropping to like 20 degrees as the high, you're coming in the morning and it's like 5 degrees. That's brutal to play in. I mean, especially if it's windy. So I think for the purposes of the tournament, we'll get through okay. I think weather will hold out for us, but after that, I don't have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and I think with your stats, you've accounted for global warming, right?
Yeah, I have a contact to David Attenborough, so I'm all over that.
Okay, guys, listen up. This is the topic that everybody's waiting for, right? I mean, we could get to this right now, and then we'll go through predictions, but I think we have to talk about COVID first, okay? Eric sent out a message yesterday, which very disheartening message. I'm sure it pained you to have to send that email or that message. I'll let you talk about it. I'll just say, so one player was diagnosed with COVID late last night, did not know he or she had the virus and was at the tournament. Tell us what you can. And obviously we respect, due to HIPAA, we respect privacy. We understand that. You might get some questions on contact tracing this evening, but we'll just have you sort of take it away and tell the audience, because everybody's anxious about hearing from you.
Eileen contacted me, and she told me basically what you mentioned. One of the players from their team was tested for COVID. They have to do a weekly test for work, and they came up positive. She didn't give me the name. I didn't ask for the name. I don't want to know the name. And that's the truth. I'm not here to call anybody out or embarrass anybody or any of that. That's not the point. The point is, it's my responsibility to let everybody in the club and everyone who's playing know that, hey, this happened. And with this information, you need to make an informed decision on if you want to continue to proceed and take the risk, or if you want to say, no, that's too much, or I've had enough and I need to walk away. Regardless of what any individual player decides, I support it. I'm not going to get political about this. Some people think COVID's a hoax. Some people think it's silly what the government's doing. You're entitled to your opinion, whatever you want. Point is that it's a pandemic, and I've personally seen my wife, she's gotten very sick from it. So I know it's a real thing. Despite that, I take my chances going out there and running these games, as well as everybody else who comes in and plays. So my message today was basically reiterating that, saying, yes, anybody out there could be carrying a carrier of COVID. Anyone could be positive for COVID and has no idea. The rules are the same. Mask up, social distance, be careful, and just know that what you're walking into. I mean, that's all I can really say on the topic. We're postponing the tournament. It does nothing for us. To me, from what I've read, the pandemic's not going anywhere. COVID's not going anywhere. We could be dealing with this for another 3 years. It could be around like the flu. So I postpone it now, and it might not make much of a difference. So we're all avid hockey players. We love the sport. And I've made the decision to continue forward as long as the bulk of the group wants to. and there may need to be some alterations made to make sure that's possible. But above all, Frank and myself will do the utmost to try to maintain the integrity of the tournament and try to just finish this out, and hopefully nothing else bad happens like that.
Okay, so just to be clear, guys, we're going forward with the tournament. The only thing the players can expect is possible modifications to some of the safety precautions. Is that correct, Eric?
Well, safety precautions are the same. I was referring to potentially some of the rosters. Like if a captain comes to me and says, hey, 4 of my 8 players won't play now or can't play or just don't want to play, whatever. It doesn't matter what
Are you getting any of that?
Not yet.
Okay.
But a few of what I've seen is a few of the players from the Dolphins are going to drop out, which is fine. So I've allowed the captain of the Porpoise or the Porpoises and the Dolphins to kind of meld their teams to make sure they got enough players, which is fine for me because, they're both kind of in the same boat record-wise, and they're all kind of the same group anyway. So to me, that's not going to pose an unfair issue as far as I'm concerned.
Eric, I appreciate the level-headed decision-making here. We were talking about it before we went on the air. If this individual didn't have to get tested for their job, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, quite frankly.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, any of us could be carrying it, and if we're not getting tested, we don't know. And it's a shame, but again, it's the risk we're all taking, and
I think it's important, and anyone who's in the tournament, if you're feeling sick, if you have any symptoms, if you test positive, you got to let us know. And, and then you obviously can't play next week. So we'll have to kind of see what happens, but, we really can be very flexible about making any changes to the roster, teams, whatever we have to do to push ahead, so long as we feel, everything's safe. Now, if 30 people say, hey, we got sick last week, we're all tested positive, then, we might have to take a different course of action. But really the biggest thing is to get all the information, let us know where everyone's at, and then we can move forward. Hopefully it's a one-off thing. Again, I don't know who was sick. I just know what Eric had shared, but it sounds like this person pretty much got to themselves, right, during the tournament. I mean, obviously they were playing during the game.
Yeah, they had a mask on, went off the court. On the court, they didn't wear a mask. So, yeah. But, everyone has a different opinion of if masks are effective, and I'm not going to get into all that. The point is, these are the facts, and I felt it was important for us to share those with the group. And every person could, digest that and make a decision based on that. And regardless of what the decision is, I support it. I'm not here to judge people. I'm not here to, say otherwise. So I just want everyone to be safe. If they can, but I also want people to know that, they are taking a risk playing. And I was making a joke, I could host a game in a volcano and there's probably people who would play. So I don't want to be liable for when I host games and people are like, oh, I got sick playing in your hockey games, and you're all making your own choice to play. So if you feel they're not safe, then please don't play. Otherwise,
do you feel
there.
In retrospect, do you guys feel you should have had waivers maybe?
No. I mean, we all know that how dangerous the sports we're playing is. COVID's very much, it's out there. People know about it, unless you're living under a rock.
Sure.
I don't think it's necessary. I think we're all adults and we all know what we're doing. And I haven't gotten any information from anybody otherwise. I've never felt threatened by anybody, or I've never felt anyone point the finger at me for anything that they don't learn on Sunday. They just kind of discuss it, and I'm always open to criticism.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to do waivers. I mean, you look at the park, we weren't the only ones there. There's kids there doing their skateboarding. You go to the grocery store and the Target, you don't have to fill out a waiver every time you're near somebody.
Right.
Yeah, those waivers mean nothing, personally, but.
Okay. Stomps, did you have a question for Eric? I had one, but.
No, I was just going to wait. I weighed in on the app yesterday only because I was getting a lot of feedback from my team or our team, the Aztecs, and never any intention of forcing somebody to come forward if they didn't want to, or outing somebody. Just asking the question, because I think some people do have that question. I can tell you on my team, there's feelings that the person should be made known for reasons of well, like you said, Nav, contact tracing, and for a person to be able to determine, oh yeah, I was talking to that person for 10 minutes, whatever the situation is. But
the only reason, and that's the thing, Eric, maybe you make a comment on this. And again, I don't want to put you in the hot seat, because again, you're not a public health official. You're organizing a hockey monster ball hockey tournament. But
I'm trying to see all sides of it, Nav, too,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know what, Eric, we're behind you in this whole initiative that you've worked on. I think it's important, just to give you a little flavor. I got a text from someone yesterday that said it would be, just to sort of build on what Stomps was saying, for those who had played against the team where the individual was, take care, man, where the individual was tested positive, and obviously his or her own team. There might be individuals that came in contact with that person throughout the course of the morning, afternoon, that are in compromising situations, whether it's their health or they're taking care of older people, they have older grandparents or parents that they look after. Do you think down the road it makes sense to, again, just for tracing for these people, just to maybe in the next 3 to 5 days to get tested, just to make sure that they can continue with their responsibilities with taking care of their own health if they're compromised, as well as the health of their parents or any elderlies that they're around?
So what I would say is, for one, we don't know if this person who was infected is patient 0. How do we know who patient 0 is? How do we know they weren't infected by somebody else at the game? There's no way for us to know where it started from. So that's one thing. 2, if you think you might have it, go get tested. I mean, we all have that power. And if it's that big of a concern to any individual, that's the action you should take. And that's where I'll leave this at. There's nothing I can personally do to keep the game safer. Taking temperatures, pick your poison. Our governments around the world cannot control this. So if someone thinks I can, then tell me what you know that the governments around the world don't, because I'd be interested to hear that. Point is, I'm hosting floor hockey games. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
Everybody knows about the pandemic. You're taking a risk coming to play. I'm not liable. Sorry, I'm not. I host a game in a volcano. You're going to probably get burnt by lava. But if you want to come and play, be my guest. I can't control who brings what. I can't control if someone's, has the plague and they come in and play and we all get the plague. Like, I have no control over that.
Yeah. No, and Eric, that's the answer that I was kind of thinking you would share. And I respect that. Like, from my side here, I think, we're not here to, this is not to get you to become all of a sudden a physician or a public health. I think it's important. I promised this individual yesterday on a phone call that I had that I'd bring this up, and I think you've answered it appropriately. I appreciate that.
I think the thing is, we've shared the information that we have, right? So Eric got the note and he let everybody know. I mean, he's not withholding any information. He's showing.
I'm really not.
Everything that he knows, and it's up to that individual to decide what that person wants to do. I mean,
So that's my follow-up question. Is this person, whoever they are that tested positive, are they pulling themselves out of the tournament?
Yes. Yeah. Because they're not going to go in and infect more people. And they have to quarantine now to go back to work. Right. So there's no way they're going to go back and play hockey and infect more people and perhaps get themselves a different strain of COVID. So yeah, yeah.
So for the curious bunch out there, because you always get those people, and it's not us in the media, we don't really need to know, but they're going to find out who it is pretty quickly. without you having to say anything. That's the reality.
Or are you asking, are people going to find out?
Well, they'll probably find out because if there's one person missing from the Southside team next week, you could probably draw that conclusion.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're going to probably have a lot of people out next week for different reasons from different teams. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the ones with the COVID.
I was just thinking on the Southside, but again,
I mean, sure, if someone's monitoring that and watching that and they want to come to a conclusion, that's their business.
I think if they want to do that personally, like you said earlier, Eric, which I really appreciated, where you said people got to kind of do what they got to do. If they want to get tested,
Right.
If they want to wait till next week to say, hey, who's that guy? Oh, man, I was in the porta potty right after him. You know what I mean? Or her.
Right.
They can draw their own conclusions, but I don't think it's on you guys to tell everyone who that is.
No, I'm not interested in outing anybody in that regard.
I don't think Eric knows either anyway, do you?
I don't. No, I don't know who it is, and I don't want to know who it is. It's not my concern. I was around everybody yesterday, so I could very well go have it. My wife's encouraged me to go get tested, so that's something I'm probably going to focus on this week, and just to make sure I don't have it, because it doesn't say much about me if I'm the guy running this thing and I don't go get tested. So.
It's a shame, isn't it, guys? Like this whole pandemic, it's even people that contract this virus, they get stigmatized. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, it's just like, do you stigmatize people for getting the flu? No. So I think the message here is whoever it is, we wish them the best or her the best. We understand they were asymptomatic, which is good news. Thanks for sharing that with Eric. This is a small community, so we hope you're doing well. Get better, stay safe, and thanks, Eric. Thanks, Frank, for addressing that and doing it in such a transparent kind of way. I think the viewers, if you guys got more questions, maybe you go see your doctor. I feel really bad for Eric and all those messages that were blowing up his phone last night. But
I mean, it's okay. I'm an open door. I'm here to help. But as people know, I'm pretty forward with some of my responses, and I apologize if that offends people, but I have to be, because sometimes if I beat around the bush, more questions come. So I have to be very quick with how I respond to things, and also this was a health thing, so I felt it was important to make sure that I get the information out to everybody as soon as possible.
Eric, handled brilliantly, my friend.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on. A lot of people would just shy away from coming to the media and answering the tough questions.
I've got nothing to hide, so.
Just because you have that microphone doesn't make you the media.
You're just jealous because you haven't got your Christmas present yet. All right, so hey, listen, let's from bottom. Let's start with Frank. Let's go to Eric Stomps, and then I'll be last. Who's your prediction to win the whole tournament, Frank?
Oh boy. Come back to me. I honestly, let me look at let me look.
All right,
I guess I'll go with the Goblin Sharks. They're still the front runners.
All right, okay. Eric?
Well, I mean, I can't predict what the playoff bracket's going to be like, and not to sound immodest, but I think it's going to come down to the Goblin Sharks and my team.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because the level of chemistry that my team played with yesterday was unprecedented, in my opinion. For us to click like we did, it was like we were playing on a team for years together. I mean, we didn't miss a beat. And granted, and I am keeping this in mind, we probably had a lighter schedule. We didn't have to play any games back-to-back. We had games in between all our games. But everybody on my team knew their job. Everybody executed it very well. And I think that's going to take us really far, perhaps to the end. And that's not something I predicted from the beginning. But obviously having Tim makes a big difference. But, a lot of these teams are good and they have good talent. And these games, they can turn on a dime. So I don't want to sound like I'm boasting my own team, because that's not my way. But I do think the Goblin Sharks will make it to the end, because I think Mike Scalzitti has been a little off. He's coming back from an injury. He was a little hungover coming in yesterday. And I think if they can fix a lot of those intangible things that, people just aren't feeling ready, they'll be a force to be reckoned with.
So you're going with either the Goblin Sharks or the Immortal Kings. You think that's the final? You see that as the final?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how the playoff bracket works, right? Like we could meet in the semifinals, and then obviously there would be a different finals matchup. But that's my prediction since you asked.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And just to go back, Frank, you said the Goblin Sharks, and then because we're gonna remember this when we do the recap of the tournament, so we'll come back to this. Stomps, who's your favorite to win the whole thing?
I'm going to go with a no comment for now, and I want to kick it back to Frank and ask Frank if you would explain to everybody what you told me yesterday about how, depending on where you fall in the bracket, how many games you may have to win this thing. I thought that was really interesting.
Right. So the way it's set up is that this pool play matters. You want to get a good seed. So the top 4 seeds will go to essentially the winner's bracket. And in order to get eliminated from the playoffs, they have to lose twice. So you really want to get one of those top 4 spots. The other 5 teams, when we get to the playoffs, they're one and done. And so the way the path works, if you're in the winner's bracket, you could win. I don't have it in front of me, but it's either in as few as 3 or 4 games. If you are the 8th or 9th seed hoping to win the whole thing, it's going to take you like 6 playoff games. So those teams coming out of the losers bracket have a lot more hockey to play. And so.
Well, currently, Frank, according to that, the Goblin Sharks and the Wrecking Balls are tied for third. Look at that. So you got 44 with the Immortal Kings, 9-inch.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah. They're not guaranteed, Goblin Sharks, to be in the winning bracket yet.
No.
So, okay. Very.
Dave, I just know our Aztec team meets your team Sunday morning. It's going to be a huge game for us. It's neutral zone co-hosts matching up against each other, and may the best team win.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll be rooting real hard for the Aztecs because I think I was looking at it earlier today, and the only chance for Death to get into that top bracket is if the Aztecs beat you guys. I don't think there's a path forward for us if the 9-inch Males wins that game.
Are we already, Frank? We're not guaranteed though. 9-inch Males aren't guaranteed the winners bracket yet, right? At 41 points.
I think a tie probably does. I don't know everything in front of me, but I think because the max you can get in any one game is 16 points. And so if you start doing the math, my team, the max we can get is 44. So
there's a way we can get bumped. I have to say for the 9-inch Males out there, if you guys just lit a fire, because none of you 2 guys picked us, and we're like second place in the first 3 games, and we had 3 games on Sunday, which no one talked about, and we played 3 formidable teams. So you guys, thank you for the incentive. We appreciate it.
We talked about how you guys stole the game from us with that non-goal. Did we mention that?
We did mention that. That would be that'd be stolen if it was a 1-goal game, my friend. Okay. Awesome. Any other controversy, guys? Anything else that you guys know that you'd like to share with the media that happened? Anybody piss you off throughout the day? Anyone you wish you didn't invite? Anyone that's not getting invited back? Was a porta potty functional all day? I mean, was there any issues with the?
I don't have controversy, but I have a few mentions. If I can.
Let's hear it.
Well, it was another guy it was good to see for the first time in quite a while was Eddie Armstrong. And he's on your team, is he not, Nav?
Of course.
So somebody said, they said Eddie never met a shot he didn't like. And so I think he probably in those 3 games probably fired the puck 100 times. And it may not get through to the net every time, but there was that one game, he was hitting the defenseman with blasts like every 5 seconds, and these guys were going down. So Eddie played strong. Steve Ferrito had a really good day. I don't know, Eric and Frank, if you remember, it was late in the day, and he robbed somebody with a glove save. It was one of those where he held it up and posed for the cameras. And it was just great. It was a tremendous save. So I remember that one.
Glasses all day?
Yeah, I guess so.
You got a Player of the Game award. So
Yeah. You missed his commentary after he made that save. He said to me, he's like, that's why they call me the Panther. No, he had a great day. He played really well. He was focused, and we, as a team, we made sure that he stayed focused because he tends to like to, talk during the game, and we just want him focusing on the shots, and he did that, and he was stellar. So I hope he can keep that up.
That's going to be key to his success, for you guys' success. If he can continue to roll like that, stay out of the commentary in between whistles, you guys are on a real good path.
We just have good chemistry. I'm not saying that we can't be beat. I know we can. We had a really tough game against Stomp's team. And that felt closer than what the score was. It's not easy to chase Gabe and Kenny around all game. It really isn't. But Steve came through big in that game, and we owe him a bit of gratitude for that. So, when we play, if we happen to play your team, Nav, it's the same situation. Every game it's going to be hard fought. So don't take my comments as where I think we'll make it to the end as like, oh, we're better than everybody else. I just think we have the right combination of people to make that happen.
Yeah. And
based on how we played, I'm confident that can happen.
Eric, we don't take anything you say like that, because we know you and I had a really good conversation about the intangibles of the game and what it means to be a team player and what it means to put together a good roster. I think it's great, to be honest. And I'll just say, I don't know, Stomps, if you had any more honorable mentions. I will say that Timmy is, what is he at, 1,500 goals of all time in Woodridge?
He's over 1,200.
1,200.
But for the tournament, he's got 18 points, and then the next person up is John Kelly at 11. So, and Tim's got 13 goals, and the next person would be Gabe, and John Kelly with 6. So it goes without saying that Tim is a offensive machine.
Right.
And that's going to be key to our success.
Yeah.
I think one of the big moments yesterday, you may recall, early in our first game, I stepped on our goalie, Kevin Adams' stick, and I went down crashing. And I felt the hush come over the arena as I lay prone. And I just really appreciate everyone's support. I had numerous messages on my phone, well wishes from throughout Ball Hockey America, and I just want everybody to know I'm fine and I'll be there Sunday.
Nice. We're happy about that.
Okay. Any other comments before we kind of close out the tournament coverage?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who volunteered and helped out. Getting this running and going on time, it takes more than the efforts of Frank and I. There's just so much going on with the clock, with the stat sheet, with doing the player of the game, with making sure we're keeping on time, collecting balls, making sure that, warm-ups and breaks happen on time. So thank you to everyone who helped out and put in their time. Thank you to Eileen for taking pictures, and then Sabatini for taking over when she was playing. Once I get those pictures, I'll be sure to post them. But thanks again, and please feel free to volunteer for whatever next week and the weeks to come.
That's great. Well, hey, Stomps, what we're going to do today is we're going to wrap up over here. We're not going to go through the full show. What we are going to promise the viewers is another episode this week. We're going to have to do that because there's no way we can get through all this material. But I think we should say one thing that's kind of big on the list is we should wish Chico Patel, who's going to be heading out to major hip replacement. His second hip is going to be done. I think it's
what's minor hip replacement? Can you explain that one for me?
I think that's hip resurfacing.
Oh, okay.
I think he's actually getting a complete replacement. hip resurfacing is a little sanding going on here and there. You know what I mean? So, but that's what he told me the surgery is, major hip replacement. There he is, enjoying himself on the beach. We wish him the best. We're going to close here. Frank and Eric, both of you guys, I said this at the onset of the show. Thank you very much for making yourself available. You guys do a great job. You're both always welcome on the show. Please come back. We love having you guys on. You guys are making people's lives very special by doing what you're doing. So we appreciate it.
Thanks. Could I just tell one? It'll take 30 seconds. One quick story here.
Yeah, for sure.
So I named the team Death. It was the team that I first played on with Billy and Chelly back in '98. And back in those days, those two would yell at each other all the time. It was insane. So fast forward to yesterday, and there was like an errant pass from behind the goal line, and the goal went in off of Chelly's stick, past Billy for a goal against us. So it was an own goal. And the two just walked away from each other. We're getting so old. If this was 1999, the two would have been at each other for the rest of the game, in the middle of the game, after the game, and into the next week. So they've mellowed a little bit with age. And it was a special moment for me personally. I just wanted to.
No,
share
that's cool.
It brought a tear to my eye. Yeah.
Guys, look forward to next Sunday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to episode 7, season 1 of the Neutral Zone with Nav and Stomps.